And welcome to the Dean Obeidallah Show, also the Dean's Report Live. And really excited to have on for the first time Mike Nellis, a pioneering social impact entrepreneur who's raised over more than $1 billion for democratic causes. He's, of course, got a very wildly popular Substack, which you should subscribe to if you haven't, called Endless Urgency. It's at substack.com/Mike Nellis. And he's right here. Mike, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
We met, you go on Stephanie Miller's show, which is on SiriusXM all the time in the morning. I'm on the night, but we met on Piers Morgan's show a couple of weeks ago. But I love that we both thought it was a conspiracy because Mike and I, look, I've been on before. It's a battle. You know, you have some draws, you have some wins. But to be blunt, Mike, you and I, we pummeled the Republicans. Like Jack Posobiec and Riley Gaines, they were devastated. Like it went so, I didn't even, and so they didn't put it up that day. They didn't put the next day. I'm like, they're not putting it up because and I'm being objective. Like we won, they were really bad. And we both thought like they're not putting it up because we were too good. Then they put it up. So I'm like, okay, there goes that theory.
Well, they put it up at like 3:30 the day before Thanksgiving too. It was rough. I mean, it was right after like the Epstein mess and then the midterm elections. And I think Jack and Riley were so demure. That's what I called them. They were just being like really calm and like they weren't fiery and they just didn't know what to do because Trump is so unpopular and they've spent the whole year gaslighting people into believing he's the second coming of Christ. And now they got to turn back to reality.
And that's a great segue to what we'll talk about. But it was odd because Jack, who I don't know person, but we had fought on Twitter years ago and stuff, was trying to be a journalist. It was very odd. He was like, well, I was today and there's reporting says, I'm like, reporting? You're the Pizzagate guy. I mean, what are you talking about? Reporting. He's literally the Pizzagate guy. But now they are trying to reinvent themselves. And I don't know really much. I know who Riley is, and I didn't like being on with her, nor did I like being on with Jack, really. But when I saw you were on, I'm like, I feel pretty good. But
I was so grateful you were there. Anytime there's any other friendly face, like usually it's like two really conservative hotheads, one like weak, effete liberal that makes me look bad, and then me. And then my biggest defense is Piers Morgan, and that's never a good sign.
Right. And it's funny that I've been on. That's my third time I was on. The first two times, I didn't fight with the other people. I fought with Piers. I don't think he liked it, but I was being nice, but I was sort of like fact checking stuff that he said. I'm like, oh. But let's talk about what the topic that I wanted to get to, honestly, and you brought up organically. Trump is becoming so unpopular. It's harder for his base to defend him, some of those people, because they're in a business. It's a business decision. Yeah. When he's no longer defensible, you still don't want to lose your followers. You got to pivot. But I think we're seeing Trump freak out. He's doing more racist red meat. I had A.G. Ellison on yesterday from Minnesota. We talked about his attacks on my friend Ilhan Omar and the Somalis in Minnesota. And I think we're at the point, Mike, where Trump is giving red meat to his base because his base can't afford actual red meat because of his tariffs. So like, well, let me give them, and his own numbers among Republicans are dropping. Rasmussen daily polling, which overskews Republicans. It's only instructive as to how bad he's doing with the GOP. Today's the lowest it's been. It's 43% approval, and on strongly disapprove versus strongly approve, it's nearly 2-1 strongly disapprove. That's a Rasmussen poll. It shouldn't be like that. What's your sense of what's going on? And do you think Trump's freaking out is part of being fed by that? That's the fuel.
Yeah, I think Trump is crashing out hard. It's funny to see. I say funny only because he's such a jerk and I can't stand him, but it's bad for the American people because I saw somebody right before on Twitter a few moments ago say that it's like we have Tom Hanks in Big as president. And I'm like, no, we have Joffrey from Game of Thrones as the king right now. I get a lot of heat when I do shows like Piers's and other conservative stuff because I will call Donald Trump a fascist because that's what he is, but he's not a particularly good fascist because what does a good fascist do? They understand that they need bread and circus. And Donald Trump has provided an awful lot of circus and he's provided no bread for any American. You can't buy a house. Everything's more expensive. He's standing on the front lawn of the White House claiming he's defeated affordability and affordability is a hoax and it's just socialism by any other name. And people are sick of that. So I think if you are a MAGA influencer, and let's be honest, most of these people don't actually believe in anything. Like Jack Posobiec reinvented himself so many times. He might be able to successfully reinvent himself into a journalist now. I doubt it. He's not a particularly good dude. I've tussled with him several times, but he's struggling to find where his base is right now because everybody is so mad. Even people who are part of the MAGA coalition and support the core values there are running away in droves. Marjorie Taylor Greene's running away. Candace Owens is running away. They've lost Nick Fuentes. Now they're all scattering in different directions. And to be clear, I don't think either of those three people are particularly good people. They are not allies of ours just because they're opposed to Trump now. But you can see this sort of like MAGA coalition fracturing. And unless Trump can figure out a way to put money in people's pockets, help them buy a house, take a vacation, afford their groceries, send their kids to college, he's going to be screwed. And so he's going to turn to more of this radical stuff. And he's going to try to hope that hating on immigrants is enough to get him elected again, or enough to help Republicans win the midterms. And it's not.
No, I don't think so. And the economy, sadly enough, indicators are it's going to get softer. I hope it doesn't go to recession. I'm not rooting.
We're in a recession now. I believe that.
You think so? We could be. I mean, there was just reporting literally today on CNBC that we've lost 1 million jobs this year, which is the most since the recession. And the recession wasn't organic. It was more temporary. And a lot of people got their jobs back in a short stretch. This is different. And part of it is AI. I mean, part of it's not just Trump's tariffs. Trump's tariffs are playing a role. That the lack of any regulation by the federal government on AI in the long term is really concerning because it's going to eat away at the infrastructure of jobs. And neither of us are economists, but we see this. I'm not sure what the right approach is, but Democrats are going to have to deal with this. People are going to lose, and younger people are going to make it harder to get a job because that's where AI can easily replace entry-level jobs. And every day AI gets smarter. I stay the same, but it gets smarter, and it will take more jobs. And it's going to be a challenge for Democrats. They have to message on that. It's easy to be on the outside, but what do you think? I mean, what are your concerns about AI and jobs going forward?
So I have a lot of concerns, and I'll give people a little bit of background on me. Like, I built and sold an AI tech startup earlier this year, built one of the first ones for Democratic campaigns, and so went down this deep rabbit hole, and I now have all this relatively useful knowledge about AI, but certainly at least how to build a startup and get it off the ground. And what AI can do, particularly for entry-level jobs with people who understand base prompt engineering, is really impressive. And you can feel however you want about that. And I think there's a lot of valid concerns that people have about IP and who owns your data and who owns your content and stuff like that is real, especially for content creators like you or I. At this point, they could probably recreate us in the aggregate. If the Democratic Party wanted to create new influencers that look like us, they probably could. Sure. It's really scary stuff. And I think if the government doesn't step in to regulate that, we're going to watch a generation of entry-level jobs get destroyed, which means if you're somebody who's 20, 21, 22, you're just about to start your life, you got to stay in school longer to get more education and experience because there aren't enough entry-level jobs. So you got to take out more loans. So you go further into debt, which delays the start of your life. And that's why people are not buying homes when they're younger because they don't have the money and they're already in debt. It's why people aren't starting families. And those are real societal concerns. You hear Republicans talk about them, but they don't have any meaningful solutions to them. And I think for Democrats, we're going to have to embrace economic populism. We're going to have to get creative because if the pace of the technological evolution that we've seen from when I was a kid and my parents brought home the first computer and I had AOL dial-up startup to now, if that exhausted you, if you couldn't follow up with that, we're going to have a revolution like that every couple of years now with these AI advancements. And on Trump's tariffs, because Trump's tariffs are wrecking the economy because they're poorly put together. We have no allies. You just sort of like stuck a square peg through a round hole, and now the average person is getting killed. The reason that Trump wanted to do that, he claimed at least, is beyond economic control, was I'm going to bring manufacturing jobs back to the United States. We're going to make cars, and we're going to make iPhones, and we're going to make this and that and the other thing here in the States. If they do that, let's say in a hypothetical scenario, these tariffs are successful at that. They will not be, but let's say that they are. They're going to bring all these jobs home, and the advancement in AI and robotics will immediately eliminate those jobs. Because do you think that big companies in America, if they can build an iPhone that never touches human hands until it gets to you, they're going to do that 100%. So they don't understand where the economy is today and how people are struggling, and they have no understanding of where the economy is going, and that's why they're screwed.
Look, you're someone who's worked in the world of politics now. You're a young guy, but still you've worked in it.
No, I'm not as young as I used to be.
Well, let me get your take on, is this one of the worst responses to an issue ever? Donald Trump, right now, he sees the same things we do. Affordability is the big issue. Inflation is creeping up, and it goes down in certain areas, but it's certainly up in coffee, in bananas, in lettuce, in utilities, in rent, a lot of areas. And Trump calls it again this week a Democratic hoax. And Mike, I've never heard a worse response to an issue that personally touches people. This is not the investigation. This is not the 2020 election that are intangible. This is affecting people's lives. And his rollback of the tariffs on a few things is absolutely meaningless. He has to know it. These companies are not going to bring the price down. They're up for 9-10 months now. People are absorbing them. The last thing you'll see companies bring it down maybe a teeny bit here or there, but people are struggling to make ends meet. We're going to the holiday season. And his thing is, it's a hoax. I've never heard a worse response by a politician to something as this meaningful and is this pressing for people.
No, and I think he gifts the Democratic Party a campaign ad once or twice a day. It's really unbelievable. And you say you think he understands that affordability is an issue. I don't think that he does. Like, I think he's in deep denial about what the average American is experiencing right now. And he's just so disconnected from the day-to-day lives of people. I mean, this is a man who thinks he invented the word groceries. So I don't know what to do. He also claims that he invented, by the way, the Mexican Coca-Cola, which is my favorite dumb, stupid thing that he has said in the last year. Because I drink a Mexican Coke a day, basically. It's like my favorite, like, one little treat.
Really?
And every time I go, thank God for Donald Trump inventing this Mexican Coca-Cola. But he's so ridiculous, and he's never had to work a real job. He's never had to fend for himself. It doesn't mean that what he's built on some level and accomplished isn't somewhat impressive. I'll give him credit for, like, especially like The Apprentice and stuff like that, and pulling himself into politics, as much as I dislike the guy. But he doesn't know what it's like to be poor, and he doesn't know what it's like to struggle and build a life when you have nothing or you're starting with very little. And because of that, he can't conceptualize what people are going through right now. And then on top of that, there's a broader problem that exists throughout Washington, which I think the Democratic Party fell into over the last couple of years, is this idea that these traditional economic indicators tell you whether or not the economy is strong. Oh, I can look at wage growth. Oh, I can look at the stock market. Oh, I can look at the GDP growth. Those things are not correlated to whether or not the average American is succeeding right now, because the concentration of wealth is so high and nobody wants to do anything about that. And it's part of the reason that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and the Biden administration spent so much time telling people how great the economy was. Certainly it was way better than it is now. I mean, Donald Trump basically dumped gasoline on a fire. But Trump has the same problem. He goes, the stock market's the biggest it's ever been. It's so amazing. Well, 99% of the growth is engaged in a handful of AI companies. Everything else is either down or stagnant. Small businesses have lost 120,000 jobs in the last month, just in the last month.
Yep.
And in 6 of the last 7 months, they've cut small business jobs too. It's about half the economy. So there's a lot of haves and have-nots, but unfortunately, there's very few haves in the Trump economy, and he doesn't understand that.
Yeah, when Trump says the economy's never been better, what he means is his economy's never been better. He's made like $3 billion, according to New York Magazine reporting, him and his family, since he came in January. We've never seen this level of corruption. I mean, to me, and I just wrote about it for Substack today and talked about my radio show last night, the pardoning of the former president of Honduras. This man is responsible for more Americans being killed than bin Laden killed on 9/11, and that's not an exaggeration. Bin Laden killed about 3,000 people. This man was involved in trafficking cocaine, 400 tons, which is 800,000 pounds of cocaine, or 350 grams of cocaine, into America. And if you look at the chart of cocaine deaths, they follow very close to that line where he comes into power as president of Honduras in 2014. Cocaine deaths in America, about 5,000 a year overdose. By the time he leaves office, we're up to almost 30,000 deaths a year. And he is he's one of the key people working with El Chapo. I'm not even exaggerating. And Trump pardons him this week. No one was clamoring for this. And, we're all trying to make sense of it. All I know is that Trump thinks it benefits him somehow, personally, financially. He can get a bribe. It doesn't matter. But, I mean, what's your take on this, Mike? It's a series of really unsavory, bad people. But this one's especially bad. He's dumping cocaine. The prosecutors talked about it. Dumping 400 tons of cocaine definitely resulted in deaths of Americans.
100%. And he's selling pardons. Like, there's no other way to interpret what's happening. I mean, he's already pardoned 1,600 people. Do you know how many people Joe Biden pardoned in one term? About 80. That's it. It's just 80 people. Now, unfortunately, a lot of them were members of his family, and that wasn't particularly great. It's at least not a good look. I understand pardoning your son. I get that as a father. But, Donald Trump's pardoned 1,600 people. He pardoned all the January 6 people. So he's either pardoning them because they are his allies, and he wants them to send a signal that, hey, I'm going to pardon and take care of you, which is really important this week, because if you're Pete Hegseth and you're in trouble on these war crime allegations, you want to know that at the end of the light, there's a pardon for you if you do what Donald Trump says when Donald Trump wants you to do something illegal. Then on top of that, they're just selling it. I mean, there was a report out that somebody hired Trey Gowdy and paid him like $1.5 million to get access to Donald Trump. And I forget exactly which of the many pardons that was, but there's I believe a New York Times or a Wall Street Journal article early this week. They are absolutely unequivocally selling pardons. And Henry Cuellar got pardoned yesterday. And I saw a lot of people that are Democratic influencers online, whatever you want to call them. And they're like, oh, this is just Donald Trump trying to break the Democratic Party in half. And he's trying to get people for us to fight with one another. And I'm like, nope, he got paid. That's what happened. He struck some deal with Henry Cuellar, either for cash or for something else, to get that. And Cuellar didn't switch parties like people thought. He's running for re-election as a Democrat. But whatever he got, it was something that put money in Donald Trump's pocket. And Democrats need to speak out about that corruption in our party, because, like, look, I've worked for Cuellar in the past a long time ago. I didn't know anything about this stuff, but we need to call out that and insider trading in Congress if we want to be taken seriously on the corruption that's happening in Washington now. And so, like, this pardon, I think, is such an example to do that. and very few Democrats are willing to take a swing at it. But this is the most corrupt administration, without a doubt.
Yeah. Yeah,
No,
I mean, Hakeem Jeffries applauded the pardon because he likes Henry Cuellar, and I know I'm like,
I like Hakeem, but I was really disappointed in that.
But that's it was an odd choice by him. I'm saying because I know, you interact with the base through Substack. I do as well, and I also have the privilege on my radio show to hear from people all the time. And I know we want fighters. No one brought up yet the Hakeem thing, but to me,
one thing I try to remind my clients of, Dean, that I think they forget is, like, it's okay to just say nothing. Like, it's sometimes just okay to be like,
that's funny, right? No comment.
I got to take a look at it. Republicans are really good at that. Like Mike Johnson and the rest of them are good at going, oh, I haven't seen that post from Donald Trump. I'll take a look at it and get back to you later. And then by then 5 other things have happened and people forget. You don't have to comment on everything. I'm going to try not to curse because you're not on your radio program.
Yeah, Republic, like January 6th. I didn't see that. What happened to the Capitol? I got to go.
Yeah.
The thing about Trump.
I didn't see that video of Pete Hegseth killing 2 people while they're on a raft.
Now, I mean, Congressman Himes came out and said it was one of the worst things he ever saw. But this is startling for people about Trump selling pardons, and that, I'm a lawyer as well. I don't know if you're a lawyer. I'm a lawyer.
No, my mom wanted me to be a lawyer. Instead, I dropped out of college to become a Democratic operative.
Well, and it's been very successful. It's where you worked out really well. But
my parents are 2 big Trump supporters, so
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah. The apple fell far from the tree on politics.
That's very interesting. But the Supreme Court decision last year giving Trump immunity, one of the most concerning parts, because they had different buckets of immunity. They had no immunity, they had official immunity, then they had absolute immunity, where you can't even look at the motives of the president. And that applied to anything that were enumerated in the Constitution, which just means things spelled out as his powers. And the pardon power is one of those, meaning Donald Trump literally could sell pardons, folks, on eBay. I'm not kidding you. This is not hyperbolic. He could literally sell pardons, and he has immunity to do that. That's what the corrupt Supreme Court said last year. So for Trump, he could be like getting drug money. He could be getting paid in drugs for his kids, for Don Jr. Like, look what I got for you, Don. Like the Christmas time, just a stocking full of cocaine for the kid. Whatever you want it to be, it could be. As long as it goes to Donald Trump and no one else, he's immune from prosecution. And that's the harsh reality of the world. So I want to get back to politics about the Tennessee race. And also Republicans now, you've got MTG gone. You've got Elise Stefanik openly fighting with Mike Johnson, which I really love. I'm from New York, and I don't like her at all. Nancy Mace, it looks like that she sort of put a little damper on her maybe leaving, but who knows. But we see GOP in disarray. It's really happening right in front of us right now. Do you think our big win last November is the reason for this disarray? Did we fuel this? And I'm hoping you're going to say yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think we did. I want to say one more thing on the pardons, though, because pardons should be like a good thing. It should be good that there is some backstop for when the criminal justice system fails. It's why governors and the president of the United States have this. But Trump is completely corrupted it. And I want to be clear, plenty of other presidents have abused their pardon power in the past. Go back and look at like Grant and all kinds of other stuff historically. I've come around to the idea, I think we need to ban the presidential pardon. I can't see any other way to solve this or any regulatory framework to fix it. I think it is so ripe for corruption that at this point, like, we need a constitutional amendment to ban it. And I think maybe after this, maybe some Republicans will get on board with that. I don't know, but I've done a full one-on-one. I mean, he's doing like 1 or 2 a day. It's just the most corrupt thing I've ever seen. He
just pardoned someone yesterday who his own DOJ, I think you were posting about it. Yeah. His own DOJ was prosecuting for rigging bids. They were rich guy, and all of a sudden he gets a pardon, and we can't even ask. He doesn't even have to answer. He doesn't have to go for oversight or anything and not answer it. But getting back
he bribed public officials $1 million to get a bid for a public stadium in Austin, Texas.
Yep. Yeah. And his own DOJ, Trump's own DOJ is like, this is even a line. I can only imagine, now we'll go with an aside here. If you're in the DOJ, if someone's MAGA or a Republican, you're like, why would you even prosecute them? I mean, isn't the message out there Trump is going to pardon them? Or maybe Trump wants them pardoned so then he can do his shakedown.
What kind of message does it send? And my father was a 34-year veteran of the FBI. So what kind of message does it send that the men and women of the FBI, the men and women of the DOJ, the vast majority of whom, they're working under a tyrannical government, in my opinion, but they're still good civil servants trying to do their job. What does it tell them when in the middle of an investigation with Henry Cuellar and this other dude in Austin that you're just going to pardon him before there's even been a trial? Like, what the hell are we doing right now? So it sends a message of, I shouldn't focus on this. Like, white collar crime is not important to the Trump administration. People getting conned is not important. So I better back off and do something else. But also they're pardoning drug dealers and they're pardoning sex traffickers. And, if Jeffrey Epstein were alive right now, he would 100% have a pardon. And I believe Diddy will get one. And I know Ghislaine Maxwell is going to get one in the end. So, like, it just sends a chilling message to me. And you add on top of that, like Kash Patel is basically trying to turn the FBI into a pedestrian law enforcement agency that's just going to patrol the streets of Georgetown and keep drunk girls from puking in front of Georgetown cupcakes. Like it's mind-boggling to me. I want to curse so bad, Dean, but I don't want to ruin this for your radio.
You're allowed. No, well, SiriusXM, you're allowed to curse, by the way.
Oh, am I allowed to curse? Great. Well,
it's SiriusXM and Substack. I think there are no rules. This is
perfect. Well, on Substack, there's definitely no rules. Well, then if I might just kindly say, fuck it, I'm sick of it. Like
it really is. This is so. Getting back to like when you look at Tennessee, the special election, district Trump wins by 22, the Democrat loses but by 9, and the Republicans had to go all in. There was a sense of panic. Yeah. Mike Johnson there, Trump posting about it. If they didn't go all in, I don't know if the Democrat wins, but maybe it's a 4 or 5 point victory at that, or even 2 or 3 points. What do you take away from the Tennessee election, the special election?
Yeah, I think a couple of things. Like they spent $4 or $5 million to juice the turnout in Republican areas to midterm levels, and we still saw a 13-point swing to the Democrats. And there's a lot of talk out there about whether or not Afton Bain was the perfectly aligned candidate for the district, and I'll tell you she probably wasn't, but I don't think that that's the reason that we lost this race. Like the difference might have been like we lost by 9 versus we lost by 7 because a candidate that's properly aligned. And like, I thought Bain ran a really good campaign. I thought she had a really simple strategy to communicate to people, which was feed kids, fix roads, fund hospitals was basically like her entire campaign strategy, which is very simple and very strong. But she had said some things about defund the police and things like that, that like, it's just not helpful. And I'm sorry to anybody out there that supports the platform of defund the police, but it is the worst polling platform in the history of American politics. Wow. Take it from me, any candidate that has supported it needs to distance themselves from it and figure out a new way to talk about it because it is just really bad. And there's basically nowhere in America where people like it, even in heavily Democratic areas. Now, that said, I don't know that it would have mattered more than a point or two. So the idea that she lost because of that is really silly to me and speculative. My thing is, though, they created a mini midterm election and still only won a Trump plus 22 district by single digits. If we see the similar type of movement of 13 points everywhere from 2024 to 2026, we could win the Iowa Senate race. We could win the Alaska Senate race. We could win the Texas Senate race. And there are 38 House districts that are more competitive than Texas 7th. You could see if Nancy Mace were running for re-election, she could lose. You could see Anna Paulina Lina lose. You could see a lot of other MAGA stalwarts lose. So if I were them, I'd be freaking out right now. And we've already seen, I want to say it's almost 30 House Republicans retire or step into other races where they have no shot. So I think you see a lot of people are leaving because they see the writing on the wall.
Yeah, and that's such a telltale sign. We see when Democrats, when they know it's a really bad year, do they really want to raise the money, all the work, especially if they're a competitive district, to likely potentially lose and even not lose the pain involved. The very last thing, we do all this because corporate media has let us down. And there's still some good corporate journalists. They're in that world, not corporate. They are journalists in the world of corporate media. Look, Donald Trump fell asleep Tuesday during the meeting. He clearly looked like he's sleeping. At one point, Marco Rubio is sitting next to him and talking. He's like if your boss did that, you would call, ambulance or something. Like you're in a meeting. My boss. Meanwhile, Trump falls asleep in the Oval Office, falls asleep everywhere. He leans against.
In all fairness, if I had to listen to Marco Rubio, I also would fall asleep.
But you'd want it. You'd be praying for death. Like, take me, God. I've had enough. Right. So maybe Trump was like wanted to end it. But we've seen Trump's cognitive decline where I've had doctors on, Dr. John Gartner, even Vin Gupta doesn't talk about stuff much. It was on, I think, Midas Touch, talking about cognitive decline. The New York Times actually wrote an article last week, and they called it aging. But deep down, when you read it, they're sort of raising the same red flags. It's beyond cognitive decline. There's a level of dementia. His 12 to 5 window is to protect from sundowning, because my late mother had Alzheimer's, dementia. Later in the day, it just gets worse. They're protecting him. But the media is not covering it. The guy is president. We should know if he's only competent for 3 hours a day. Everything else he signs is going to be illegitimate, invalid. And we should not have a president like that. And I don't know what's going to take for corporate media to actually cover this.
I don't know either. I don't know. And I think they're a little bit afraid to cover it because of the Biden stuff, probably. And I think we should be honest about that. Like, they did not do an effective job covering that for Biden. And now that said, and I've told Alex Thompson this, I'm like, I expect the same level of reporting on this as I got with Joe Biden. And we'll see if we actually get it. But there's something's wrong with him. Something's wrong. I mean, they're putting makeup on his hand and he's falling asleep in the middle of the day. And like, there was that press conference like a couple weeks ago. I had a massively viral tweet when I pointed this out. It was hilarious to me. But like, they had Dr. Oz, because Dr. Oz runs health in our government, which is ridiculous. I know. But whatever. Dr. Oz in the middle of the Oval Office, he's talking about obesity being linked to dementia, which is a very real thing. And what he said was actually really smart. But in the background is Donald Trump slinked in his chair going,
And
so
that's the one where the guy fainted. And
That's the
now
one
there's I think it's an
around.
iconic picture of Donald Trump like this, looking straight, and next to him, people are on the ground helping somebody.
In
and
Trump's defense, I'm going to defend Trump in this photo because when you look at the photo, it looks bad. When you watch the video, he got up and kind of like moved over there and realized he was not going to be helpful, and he just didn't know what to do. So I kind of felt bad for him a little bit. Not that you could feel bad for Donald Trump, but like I was like, the photo's not as bad as the video's not as bad as the photo. But look, there's something wrong, and they're not being honest with us about it. And I think it's really scary to me that really functionally Donald Trump doesn't run this government. Like Trump doesn't know anything about what's going on in Venezuela. Trump doesn't know anything about what's going on with ICE. He doesn't know anything that's going on with anything else. And I don't know if you've seen this. There's a new viral TikTok trend where you remove Donald Trump's like the sound of his voice from what he says, and you just listen to like a normal person talk the way that Donald Trump sounds. It's so much more clear to me how like unwell he is when you listen to him talk. Like somebody took the McDonald's speech that he gave a few weeks ago, and it was just like you or I talking, but it was using the same words. And he was like, we have like, you know, the water that comes out of the, you know, the thing that comes out of the thing. And blah, blah, blah. People are saying, a lot of people say this. And like, it sounds even crazier when you remove his like, I'm Donald Trump and this is my inflection and I talk like this. Like he hides behind this character that he's created for himself, which sort of allows the American people to disassociate a little bit from the crazy shit that he says. But it's going to get harder and harder to hide this. And again, just like the economy, I think it's only going to get worse. It's not going to get better.
Well, Dr. John Gardner from Duty to Warn this week read some of that very speech on air so people could hear it in that kind of setting. And as experts like Dr. Gardner doesn't know that when you have this kind of cognitive decline, every day you see them is their best day, because the next day it degrades just a little bit. And that's just life. This is not a Donald Trump thing. This is a real life thing. Unfortunately for us as a nation, as I'm writing an article, we're going to have a Pino, a president in name only. And that concerns us because in Stephen Miller,
way too close to pedo for me.
Right, we're gonna have you're gonna have Stephen Miller and the Project 2025 guys hand him a cheeseburger if he signs something like, "Here's a cheeseburger, Don. Would you sign it?" Sure. And it gets worse right now.
Here's a fillet of fish, sir. Please sign this.
Exactly. Like, here's want a Diet Coke. Here's something to sign. And that's what. And we don't know who's giving orders on the military, and the list goes on. We can't have that, and they'll never invoke the 25th Amendment. We know that. But Mike, it was great having you on. It's nice to chat with you in person. I hope we'll chat again, and it's nice to meet the people who joined in our conversation here I can see the actual chat flowing now because the first time was a desktop one. But this
is so much nicer, guys. The chat is on the right over here instead of down. I'm so happy for this because I can see everybody's comments in a way that I couldn't before. It's really nice.
It's brand new. Today's the first day of the.
We're probably like the first people to use it. We're pioneers, Dean.
I feel like we're like Neil Armstrong of Substack. We're one chat for mankind. Last thing, if people want to follow you, where is the best place they can go, Mike?
Yeah, subscribe to me on Substack. It's endlessurgency.com, easy to find, and then wherever you get your social media, I'm there posting something.
Thank you, my friend. Thanks so much for joining. I look forward to chatting with you again in the new year. Happy holidays to you and your family, and take care, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Really appreciate it. Take care.
Thank you. Talk soon.